Hello, welcome to part two of our interview, Dr. Zitelman. Hello. So, Dr. Zitelman, let me share a story. If you don't ask, you don't know. I went to watch the movies at one point. I wanted to watch Puss in Boots. I like cartoons because cartoons are outlandish. So, because cartoons are so outlandish, there is a greater scope for philosophical explorations. When I went to watch Puss in Boots, there was a long line. People wanted to watch Avatar. So I went to the guard and I said, Sir, I want to watch Puss in Boots. Why should I wait in this long line? Most of these people want to watch Avatar. And he said, Well, I can't allow you to skip the line, but there is a line around the back. It's a shorter line. Go around the back. And I went around the back and the line was really short and I had already purchased my ticket. So I just entered and I was able to watch Puss in Boots without waiting a long line. So if you don't ask, you don't get an answer. You don't know.
Absolutely. If you don't ask, you still have the answer, and the answer is no. It is so easy. Before we end our interview, let's talk to our audience about another book that will be published at the 7th of March in the United States. And it's a great story because this book will be published in 30 countries all over the world. It will be published in almost all European countries. It will be published in Asia. It will be published in Africa, like Nigeria, Uganda, and of course, it's published in the United States. And the title is In Defense of Capitalism. And this is my new book. And I know a lot of people, they don't like capitalism. They think capitalism is a dirty word. But don't forget that the United States became such a successful country, and countries like Germany because of capitalism. And on the other hand, that all socialist experiments failed in history. The last 100 years, we had 24 different socialist experiments. But the problem is that capitalism has today a lot of enemies. And in this book, I refute all the 10 most popular myths about capitalism. For example, I start with one chapter, capitalism is to blame for hunger and poverty. And only to give one fact, this is crazy because before capitalism, 90% of the worldwide population lived in extreme poverty, 90%, 90. Today it's less than 10%. And what's more important, half of this reduction happened over the last decades. Even in 1980, 43% of the worldwide population lived in extreme poverty. So it's an amazing story. And this is the reason why I wrote this book about capitalism, and I refute all the arguments. Capitalism is responsible for inequality, for climate change, environmental destruction, monopolies, wars, fascism. There are so many arguments, and I didn't write the book to convince anti-capitalists because I don't believe that they will buy a book like this. They prefer to buy book number 35, Why Capitalism is Evil. And I wrote it for people who are maybe more pro-entrepreneurship, more pro-market economy, but they don't have the facts. And if you discuss...
Exactly. You want to equip them. You want to equip your followers or people who are interested in capitalism.
Yes, and if you read the book, you have all the facts. For this book, I read 350 scientific books and scientific papers. Not everyone has the time or want to read more than 350 scientific books and papers. So, but here you find, even you don't have to read my whole book. If you have a discussion about inequality, for example, or about poverty, read only one chapter, then you have all the arguments. And I hope that some in your audience, there are some people who say, I want to know more about capitalism. And so hopefully the book is published on the 7th of March. And I think in Jamaica, I don't know, how do you buy books in Jamaica? Do you buy it on Amazon or?
Well, in Jamaica, people who read buy books on Amazon. So I'm realistic. I'm going to give you the truth about Jamaica. So some would say Americans don't like to read or the British don't like to read, but we have data on how different countries respond to the intellectual market, and Jamaica is not a place where people really read. So in America, some would lament that Americans don't read, but the average American reads a few books every year. Not so in Jamaica. Jamaicans really don't like to read, but people who do like to read, they buy books on Amazon or they read ebooks. So I used to buy books frequently, but then I discovered that it's easier to read books online. How do you read a book online? Well, there's some websites online where you can get a book, but you have to act quickly. The moment the book is available, you download it because after a period, you're told that if you download this book, you're going to breach copyright regulations. So people complain about capitalism and free markets and the internet, but because of innovation, it's cheaper to buy books. We spend less and save more, therefore our disposable income goes up. So I've been reading a lot of ebooks because of the internet, and then people like you who appear on my show, they usually send me review copies.
Yes. So, do you have a last question?
Yeah,
Or
so yeah, so I want to talk about rich people and school because Market Watch wrote a profile on one of your works arguing that rich people they acquire human capital and they work hard, and you the study saying that rich people did well in competitive sports and they're also good salespeople. So it's not that school is unimportant, but acquiring human capital is more important. So you can expound.
yes, for my interviews, I asked everyone of these people, how have you been at school or university? And some of them were very good, and some of them were really absolutely bad. But I saw something, there was absolutely no correlation between their performance at school. Oh, are you still online?
Yeah, I'm still online.
And what I saw, that there was absolutely uh, no correlation between their performance at school on the one hand and their later financial success on the other hand. Some of them, for example, I know here some people who have even not high school degree and who became multi-billionaires. And there are a lot of school dropouts. On the other hand, of course, there are also people who were successful at school and later successful in finance. But so being bad at school, it's not an excuse for not becoming rich. Other things were more important for them. You mentioned something, half of them were competitive athletes when they were young. So they learned how to win and they learned how to act with defeat and with setback, what is very important also in business. And a lot of them started with early entrepreneurial experience when they were young, even when they were at school or at university. They started to do small business or they sold things, they were engaged in sales. So these experiences were much more important than school wisdom. And I think it's logical because if it would be enough to know things in economy or finance, then all these famous professors at university would be multi-billionaires because they know everything. But you find only very few of these professors in for MBA or economy who are really rich. But you find a lot of even uneducated people who became very rich. So if you didn't study or have no high school, don't take it as an excuse. It's absolutely not important to become successful.
Yeah, based on my research, rich people invest in human capital. So Bill Gates dropped out of college, like Mark Zuckerberg. Why? They had human capital and they knew how to scale. So I was interviewing a distinguished business professor, and he said, "You have more human capital than Bill Gates." And I said, "No, human capital is about commercializing your talent. You have to execute. Having a degree or being smart is not human capital. Human capital is the execution of talent." So Bill Gates has more human capital because he built Microsoft. And last point, we're going to speak briefly about the rich in public opinion, or rich people viewed in France, England, Germany, and the UK.
Yeah, yes, and in the meantime, there are some more. I started with I commissioned a poll with one of the leading polling institutes in the world, Ipsos Mori, and we started to do it in United States, UK, the UK, in Germany, and in France to find out how the attitude toward rich people. But in the meantime, I've done it in more countries. In the meantime, we did this poll in 13 different countries, and we could compare even how envious people are. everywhere in every country you have envious people, but there's a difference. For example, the countries with the most envious people is first France, then followed by Germany, my country, where I live. At the least envious people you find in countries like Poland, Vietnam, Japan, or South Korea. So it's a huge difference. And I think that countries like Vietnam, for example, or Poland became so successful in the last decades. This has also this reason that these people, they think more about how can I be successful, how can I grow rich, than to be envious against the rich. Or I ask one question always to people. Maybe you heard about this. Some years ago, protesters positioned a guillotine in the house of Jeff Bezos, who was Amazon founder, this time the richest man in the world. They positioned a guillotine like they used in the French Revolution to kill the king and other people. And now one question. Think about two people. One of them, he's envious against the rich. He hates rich people. He sits at home and create a guillotine to put it in the house of Jeff Bezos. And
He's an idler. He's an idler. He's an idler.
Yes, but even, and now think of another person who says, I buy a biography about Jeff Bezos.
Like me.
To find out who did he become successful. I read it, maybe I can learn something. And now guess who will be more successful
me.
in 10 years?
Because I bought the book. I bought the biography of Amazon. I bought Brian Dumain's book. So I'm going to be more successful than that guy.
Sure, absolutely. Because you think about how can I improve? How can I be successful? And this is what I mean with envy. If some people, they see there's someone richer, they want to reduce the gap between him and them to tear him down. Maybe can we have higher taxes for him? Can we expropriate him? How can we make life worse for him? And the other one, if you see someone who's richer, if he becomes rich in an honest way, of course, I speak about honest people, then he thinks, okay, what can I learn from this people? What can I learn from this guy? And you speak with, in your podcast with successful people. And I think in every podcast, you will learn something from these people. So I know that you will be successful, even more and more successful in a couple of years, because you will learn a lot. And the other people with their hatred and envy against the rich, they learn nothing. And so this is the way these are losers.
Yes, but you know, Dr. Zitelman, I admire the French and the German, and I think that the difference between France and Germany and other countries is that other countries act on envy. So I'm from Jamaica, and in Jamaica, envy is a recurring leitmotif in popular culture. It is the norm for people to argue that their business is failing because of envy. So I don't know if people in France and Germany act on envy, but in Jamaica, they certainly do. I know small entrepreneurs. They started a business, the business was doing well, and then a year later, you see them and you say, what happened to the business? And they look at you and they say, in Jamaican terms, we were getting a fight.
What does it mean?
They were getting a fight, meaning some people did not like the business, and because they hated the business, they physically intimidated the entrepreneur.
Oh, crazy.
So I don't think the Germans and the French act on envy, but in Jamaica, people do act on envy. I think that the Germans and the French care about equality. They're not necessarily envious. They care about equality.
Yes, but they are also envious, but maybe in a different form. But even here, things happen like this. I live in Berlin, and every year they burn 700 cars, not all from political reasons, but a lot from left-leaning people. He is successful, he's in real estate, or he has another political opinion, so I burn his car. There every day 2 cars are burned on different reasons. Some people are only envious. He has a big car, let's burn the car. Crazy. The other one thinks about, okay, he has a great car. What should I do that I can buy such a car? This is the difference, how people think.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're
It was
wrapping
a
up, but
pleasure.
yes, you're really charismatic. We could talk forever.
Yes, we will talk. We will talk again. I appreciate very much. Thank you for your time. If our talk is online, please send it to me.
I will.
Then I can put it on my here in Germany Facebook and Twitter, and so that other people can hear it.
All right,
also.
bye. Thanks for coming.
Okay, goodbye. Thank you.